Shape ring?
The shape we're in.
Oh,
The Shape We're In is the title of his speech.
very good.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and Ms. John. How many of you have ever given a second thought to the shape we're in? That is the shape of Minnesota.
Oh. Yes.
It's, there are many quirks, and I don't, if any of you have ever read the book, How the States Got Their Shapes, it has some interesting tidbits about why certain states are shaped the way they are. And it had in particular, Minnesota has some interesting quirks about it, about why it's shaped the way it is. But first of all, when the United States was founded in 1776 and then the Constitution of 1787, the prevailing tendency at that time was for countries to have colonies as they conquered more territory. But the United States wanted to do it differently and give the additional territory it gained, give opportunity for that to become states and have equal power. So that's this whole system of developing notions for how many people you needed to have in a territory and a state, and the whole process for additional land to become part of the United States and equal to the original 13 colonies. In many cases, almost all cases, states or the land would be divided into territories which would be larger than the state had become. For example, Minnesota territory came and it followed the Missouri River. So this was, so places like Fargo and Aberdeen and Bismarck, those locations were in Minnesota territory before it was split off. Now, this all happened in 1849, and after Minnesota became a territory, as it started getting more population, well, first of all, the capital was established in St. Paul, but there were two different groups of people. There were agricultural people, and then there were people that represented timber and other industries. And they were competing with how to divide the territory, since the territories to be divided made smaller to make states. The agriculture people wanted to draw a line like this, so Minnesota would have essentially been a long version of Iowa. It would have gone from the Mississippi River to the Missouri River. And along with that, there's a whole story about how there was an attempt to move the capital from St. Paul down to St. Peter along the Minnesota River, which would have also been more centrally located. And that was an attempt that failed because there were people, the interests that wanted to keep the capital in St. Paul, hid the documents. Absconded with them that would have been necessary to move the capital to St. Peter. Ultimately, this failed, and the north-south arrangement we're familiar with prevailed, because had this happened, Minnesota would have been, well, as I said, would have been agricultural states. You wouldn't have the forests, you wouldn't have very many forests, except right along the Mississippi River. You wouldn't have had the iron mining, so it was a fortuitous way to make a more diversified economy for Minnesota. Not to mention have a port on the Great Lakes so that you could ship that iron ore and other materials east to factories. But the other thing that happened was that, so this would have been roughly about the latitude of St. Cloud. So that failed. But then there's this other little quirk up here, the northwest angle. And it talks about how when the border was surveyed, they were going to follow basically the Voyager's passage up here to Lake of the Woods, and then they were going to find the northernmost part of Lake of the Woods and draw a line straight west, presuming that the Mississippi River would go up into Canada.
Oh, I see.
Whoops. Later they found out that the Mississippi River was not going to Canada. So they just found the point here where the northwesternmost part of Lake of the Woods was. They dropped the line straight down and they extended it on the 49th parallel. So that is a brief story about some of the quirks of the shape of Minnesota and why it is the way it is and what's been beneficial for the state. Mr.